Bob, that we just went live?
And we're muted in this room now, right? I think we
Okay, I'm getting my screens aligned, and then we will start. Okay, here we go. All right, good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock on the East Coast, so we're going to get started with our meeting. This is the July Track Committee meeting. Thank you all for participating virtually today. Just for management purposes, please make sure that your phone or device is muted when you're not speaking or sharing. Before we get into the crux of our meeting, we have to share that PSTA has developed several methods of ensuring the ability of the public to comment during this meeting. First, you may join the Zoom meeting by calling area code 305-224-1968 and entering the meeting ID that's currently on your screen, which is 821-6655-3868. Individuals who do join our Zoom meeting will be allowed to share publicly for 3 minutes. And once again, the comment line is currently on your screen at this time. The second option allowed for the public to make comment during this meeting is to submit written comments to PSTA, either via the mail or email to publiccomments@PSTA. Do we have any public comment at this time?
None.
None, thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move into the roll call to ensure that we have our members here. When I call your name, please unmute, say here, and then make sure you just remute after that. So we'll start with Roman. I did see Roman.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Gloria.
Here.
Jay James. Elizabeth Olden.
Here.
Kim Rankin.
Here.
Teresa Dunphy.
Here.
Shane Schrader.
Here.
Sebastian Zimbardo.
Here.
Maxwell Johnson.
Here.
Mark Boyce.
Here.
Richard McDaniel. I thought I saw him. Peter Ray. Richard Powell.
Here.
And Conrad Langheim. Okay. Are there any members' names that I didn't call? Okay. I know we got Richard Powell, and I know I see Richard McDaniel on the screen, so he is here. Okay. Reminder to our committee members that if you to please make sure that you respond to the attendance email that is sent out by staff within 48 hours. With that, we're now going to move into the chairperson's report. Good afternoon again, track members. In the interest of time, I'll briefly cover the topics that were discussed at the June PSTA board meeting. The board voted to approve a 5-year legal service contract with BMO firm. CEO Brad Miller and Chief Financial Officer Debbie Leas introduced a proposed PSTA fiscal year 2025 operating budget. The fiscal year 2025 budget is balanced with a very small surplus. I'd also like to add that I am from my Car Free St. Pete committee. Car Free St. Pete is still working closely with the team looking to remove Interstate 175 from the south side of downtown St. Pete, as well as going through a rebranding and coming up with a name that is more inclusive of other transit. I do have other comments from from PSTA, or from Car Free St. Pete, but I will mention those during the member comment period at the end of today's meeting. With that, we're gonna move over to item number 4, the Forward Pinellas report, and for that, we have Elizabeth.
Hi, got my
Hi.
papers here. They talked about the long-range transportation plan. It's talked about every month. And I'll read what made sense to me. Forward Pinellas is responsible for developing a 25-year long range transportation plan every 5 years. It accounts for changes in transportation needs, land use, shifting regional travel patterns, new and emerging technology, and demographic changes that have occurred since the last long-range transportation plan was adopted. So that's every 5 years, it comes out again. But this September, there's no meeting this month. There will be in August, but in September, they're gonna provide a finalized and the long-range transportation plan is in flux all the time. So it's gonna come down to a finalized version in September, which is exciting. And then I sent to Bob an interactive map where you guys can look up and see the different pockets of activity and improvements being made. And Bob, did you send that out to everybody?
Yes, I did. And the community
Okay.
bus plan, which you all participated in, is also part of the long-range transportation plan.
And that was Chelsea. I'm getting to know her. And I have got a lot of good nuggets, but I have that in my phone, notes that I took. The next summary that I want to share is about Vision Zero initiative. That was started in Sweden in 1997, and it came to New York in 2014. And it's a different way to think about eliminating casualties and accidents by creating an environment where people won't break the rules. They're not inclined to break the rules. Instead of just slamming them down with different laws, a whole bunch of laws, they're coming at it from a different direction, creating an environment. For example, and it's in my notes, New York has changed the speed limit or reduced it just by 5 miles per hour, and that right there has saved lives. They improved their intersections. They have created pedestrian islands, and they put in bike paths, and all these create safety or ways to behave safely and move around safely, whether it's bicycle, walking, or driving. The next thing was an overview. The same speaker talked about ADA requirements for compliance within our transportation system as it relates to bike, pedestrian, and transit accessibility for individuals with disabilities. And then another speaker was right behind her, talked about that fatalities have been reduced because people are behaving differently. And really interesting, at the end of the meeting, there was a debate about whether we should do cameras, install cameras, or not install cameras. 7 of us voted to have a discussion about it. 5 of us were adamant that no, we don't want to talk about it. I don't know where they're coming from. They shared how they felt. But I think they were thinking that we're going to be like England, where you've got a camera on every pole so they can track accidents or what happens all over the city. But we all know there are cameras already in use. In Orlando, I got my ticket. Somebody else, my daughter got a ticket with the camera in New Orleans. She couldn't even remember what happened or that day. Somebody else talked about it. So we've already got this technology. So we don't have to install cameras everywhere, but just in these hot spots where people tend to speed, because speeding is the biggest or one of the biggest causes for accidents and fatalities. And going back to just reducing the speed limit already saves lives. And then let me go to, an interesting nugget was the safety person talked about rotaries. Down south, they call it roundabouts. Up north, rotaries. When I first got my license, I went around the rotary for the first time. So I learned right off the bat. It's a good thing. And because people need to learn how to do it, but because you're slowing down to go around the rotary, that's a behavior that reduces fatalities or horrific accidents. You might have a fender bender, but it's not going to mess you up. So that's on my list. Chelsea, talking about the long range, she talked about how in Pinellas County, as crowded as we are, and all the municipalities, we have 25 municipalities, 13 of which are on the beaches. And we're not like Tampa or Pasco, where people leave their homes and travel the highway to get to a center like downtown, whatever city in Pasco, or downtown Tampa, then turn around and go home. In Pinellas County, everybody's scrambling, crisscrossing to get to different centers of all these municipalities. They all have their centers. So she talked about how we're different than, we're unique. That's the word she used, unique, in that. And yeah, I think those are the biggest nuggets. The roundabouts and how we're unique because we crisscross and everybody wants to go everywhere at the same time, and all the more reason to create an environment where we tend to change our behaviors instead of getting slapped by laws. There. Oh, and check out that map, the interactive map. And you can give feedback. They're encouraging people to register with your email and a password, and they're encouraging public feedback.
All right. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Any questions from the committee to Elizabeth about what's going on with Forward Pinellas? Okay, thank you very much. With that, we're now going to move into today's presentation, which is the Neighborhood Engagement Projects and the Transportation Disadvantage Plan. And we're going to welcome in the team of Eric Smith, Sarah Liedemuth, and Luz Randolph. Sarah, I hope I didn't crucify your last name. I hope I got it right. And we are all looking forward to seeing this presentation. Guys, the floor is yours.
That's quite all right. Well, it's nice to see everyone. My name is Sarah Liedemuth, and I'm the research lead at Inclusivity. We have had the honor of working alongside PSTA for the last several months on the project that was referenced. And we understand that through this process, PSTA wanted to develop a more culturally competent strategic marketing approach with the ultimate goal that what kept coming up over and over again was creating a world-class user experience for all users. And that's a very lofty goal, but a very attainable goal if you take it in small parts. So part of our scope was conducting listening sessions with staff, with leadership, anyone that was involved within the marketing department. So the communications side, the community outreach side, graphics design, PR, any of those particular areas. And what we were so impressed with was the number of times that this committee came up and was referenced. And we highlighted it as one of our key observations from this process of we need to engage the track community and have a similar conversation to what we had with staff and with leadership, but with the riders that are so closely engaged with the community and with the organization. So you kind of see both sides. So a little bit of background on our process. We took a step back at our kickoff. We did a document review, so that was looking at marketing materials, at graphics, at communication strategies, goals, and metrics to get a sense of what's being collected now. And then we held the series, as I mentioned, of discussions with staff and with leadership to discuss these topics. And what we wanted to come out of this whole process, and including the discussion that we're going to have today, the kind of focus group that we're going to have today, is there are additional opportunities for the agency to really see and to really speak to the needs of the TD rider. And those are opportunities that are ample. Some of them are being hit, some of them are being missed at this point. But we thought no better way than to have that discussion with this group to see ways in which we can look at reaching the community in a more impactful and more meaningful way. So I do have a series of questions that I want to run through with all of you, and please feel free to, I hope to hear from everybody during the conversation. Please just unmute yourself. You can raise your hand or do the raise hand emoji if you'd like to as well, and that'll kind of keep us organized. I'm not going to call on anybody, but I would like to hear feedback and comments from the whole group throughout the discussion. And nothing will be attributed directly to an individual. I'm not recording any names. It's just general comments. Oh, I have a hand already, Heather.
Oh, that's just me. I just wondering if there's supposed to be a PowerPoint, or if we just want to make sure we weren't missing it on Zoom.
No, there's not a PowerPoint to go along with this. I had a PowerPoint to give you an update on where we are at this point, but really I wanted to get into the discussion, if that's okay, and really focus our time on the questions to get as much.
Just wanted to make sure there wasn't a Zoom issue. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you asking. All right, got another hand? Oh, you're on mute, Gloria.
My one quick question is, you mentioned TD riders. We are a group that include some, well, I was even confused about what exactly is TD, because TD technically is an income and or disability related function. Several of us ride on Access as well as regular buses, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're TD riders. We may be just Access riders. And then there are a number of people in the group who don't ride on Access at all. And so I just wanted to make sure that there was clarification for our group and for you of exactly what we're all talking about.
And thank you for bringing that up. The goal here is to hear from riders directly. So I understand that we've got a great mix within this group of different types of riders, might qualify for certain programs, not others. And we want to talk about the rider experience because, again, the end goal is to make this a world-class user experience for all riders. Some of the questions are specific to transportation disadvantaged TD riders, but you don't have to be a TD rider to be able to weigh in on them, I guess is the best way of saying that. This is really just to get perspective from the steps and observations that you would like to see the agency take from here. All right. So I'll jump right into the questions. I want to be respectful of time. I appreciate you all so much. First off, can someone in the group or multiple someones give me some context as to what do you see your role as a member of the track committee being? What are you in place to do?
I'll go, oh, Gloria, go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, you could have gone first too. I just, that we are a voice, that we are the users of the product. And so we have always been, to me, the voice that speaks to the management of PSTA about what is actually happening out there on a day-to-day basis. And some of us will on a regular basis, even like if we have a bad bus stop, we'll send a note to Bob Lasher saying, bad bus stop. Or if we have a good driver, we'll send a note that said, excellent driver. So that's, to me, we're a voice of the riders.
Yeah. Mark, was there something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add that, you know, we're also, we also give our input about the future of the organization, because, you know, if an initiative, a project, a report is going to end up going before the full board, it also comes before us. So we have the opportunity to see it and give input before it goes to that governing body.
And can I ask a follow-up to that? As far as the input, are you involved in planning all the way through to the end, or how would you characterize the point in time in which the group is engaged?
Depending on the project, we are engaged throughout. In the community bus plan, each of us as individuals was able to, you know, participate in that online survey. We did get an update a month or two ago. I can't remember. It blends together. But we have been involved. And, you know, we also can come back and ask questions in our comment period at this meeting and ask, you know, like what's going on with the community bus plan, which might be a question I might ask today.
Got it. And I see another hand from the other Mark.
Yes, I had a question for you first. Do you work for PSTA or?
I do not. I work for Inclusivity. I'm the research lead for Inclusivity. So we were brought in to do the assessment and the strategic planning. So essentially what to do with the information then that we gather from these discussions.
Okay. So PSTA hired your organization?
Correct.
Sort of like an advisory, I don't know what your official, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
absolutely.
Do you want the real truth or do you just want generalities?
I am interested in the truth. So that is all I'm asking everyone to be very candid and honest, please.
Everyone's truth, obviously there's one truth, you know, there is truth, there's absolute truth, and there's falsehood. In this case, there's a variety of folks on the board, which is wonderful. When I wanted to join, my purpose was to represent a certain segment of the population of PSTA riders that weren't being represented at all, in my opinion. I tried to represent them and plead for you know, additional service and so forth, but then, you know, you realize that everyone else has their, so you do the best you can. So I view myself as a representative for 400 specific people. And I have not been successful at my goal in that realm, I don't think at all. I've been around for over a year. And then once I realized more how TRAC operates, I then realized I had a different focus in that, you know, purpose, and why I hung around, even though I would have just dropped out once I realized I wouldn't be able to affect the change I wanted to. But there were other things I could affect. So that, you know, you make the best of the reality. You know, in my opinion, now I represent a very small segment of the riders. Probably 10%, I would think, would have my views. But if we're talking about Pinellas County residents, I would represent the majority, I think. So, and why I tell you all that is because I now see myself as someone who does not share the end goals of much of what I see presented to us. In other words, it's not so much that we're here to help them, it's more that this is my view. They are very attentive to certain things, as Gloria was saying, and I totally appreciate that, and that's why I stick around. But to me, representing the portion of Pinellas County that doesn't ride PSTA, those who don't have a clue what it's like to depend on, you know, I come from a really strange kind of a smorgasbord of viewpoints, and I went for a year and a half without a vehicle, so I learned to depend on PSTA. But bottom line was, I don't see myself as representing those folks as much anymore. I now see myself as a representative of the less popular major folks. I would call it thrust of PSTA,
we can still.
which is
All we can see was the middle.
more of a cars are bad, buses are good, electric buses are good, diesel buses are bad, you know, different things that I don't agree with completely. So it's evolved, and so I'm thankful for the opportunity. I don't know how long my desire to continue being the minority view, but I think minority views are important. And in this particular case, I might be the majority view of Pinellas County voters, but I'm a very much a minority view amongst transit riders. So ultimately, I only care about the 400 people I originally came to plead for. And I would be satisfied with the time I spent if I could have an impact to help those folks who do not have a voice, don't even know who to complain to, and they really don't have the ability to help themselves. But I'm here for them, and so I know that's a lot of talking, but I'm probably a rare bird in this committee, as far as I can tell politically and, you know, overview kind of. Okay?
Great. I flagged a few things that you said. I want to return back to those in a later question that really hits directly on those. But something that we have a hand from Heather.
Oh, I just wanted to say that part of the goal of this work is, and you all are, you know, already organized as a group, so it's easy for us to reach you. But part of the goal is also for you to help tell us how the broader members in your communities want to be reached and talked with and presented to, because it's hard to host like a general public meeting where you just say, okay, here we are, because not very many people come. So that was one goal of this project. So we'd love, you know, any thoughts you have on how best we can get input from, but also information out to the people in your community that you interact with.
Thank you, Heather. And to that point, actually, my next question it's kind of a two-part. So let's start first with instances where you're especially proud of the contribution that you've made as a member of the TRAC committee to help PSTA forge stronger community connections. And that might be regarding a service change, a policy change, marketing materials, any concrete examples that you can point to. And then I want you to think, because my follow-up is going to be areas in which you would like to get more involved. Okay, got a hand. Gloria.
Well, I can tell you right now, there's something we've done for a couple of years now called the Track Star Award. And that came from some programs that we created out of TRAC that were initiatives. One was about safety, and that's where the Track Star Award thing came out, where we said that people don't realize that if you're taking a bus, you're arriving somewhere and you're not arriving by car, and the sidewalks and the access points and something are not designed for that. So people like us, who, like a couple of us who are in wheelchairs, we have to go in active car lanes to try to go into things like, I always say, Countryside Mall, the largest mall in the county, has one single way that a pedestrian can get into the mall. there's only one access point. And those are the things that we've been fighting for. And so by giving the Star Awards, we highlight when municipalities do in fact make access better for pedestrians and transit riders. So that was one of the things I'm very proud of. And PSTA was very supportive of that as we reached out to the county commissioners and so forth. The second part of that, the second initiative we had that year was talking about regional transit, which is still not a reality. But again, it's something that we have the opportunity to speak to people and say, again, here it's an issue people don't realize. If you're in a wheelchair, paratransit ends at the county line. And so if you are not able to drive because you're disabled, so much, you're blind or you're in a wheelchair, you can't get to Tampa. You can't get to Pasco County. Now there's a special program that has come through, and that is better. But even that only gets funding when somebody works on any given year to try to get more funding on that. So again, we were speaking very loudly to all the powers that be to say, hey, we're here, And then the one last piece, because this is just an answer to one of the things that Mark Boyce was talking about, is that what I think we also have the opportunity to do is be the voice to the people who don't ride transit to say, but if we have better transit, it's not buses are good and cars are bad, but that if more of us are in transit, then we're not sitting next to you on the Howard Franklin Bridge. We are the people that are all collectively traveling some of those distances, and it actually helps the roadways be better for the car drivers. That's it.
Thank you, Gloria. Okay, we've got Mark and then Sean.
I wanted to add about, having our input heard. There were times when the Sunrunner was being planned that ideas were being brought forward. We kind of said yes, no, and more recently, with the community bus plan, the team at PSTA took a look at how routes are interacting with Sunrunner stations west of Grand Central Station, and that was one of the things that I remember I had brought up. So I put, I feel like, they are really listening to what we have to say. I also have friends and colleagues who would like to use transit more often, so I bring their concerns to here. I also sit on the board of Car Free St. Pete, so those people can give me their input about what they want said at a PSTA meeting, and I deliver that message as well. So I can really see how our input is valued, it is taken, and it is acted upon.
Great, thank you. Sean, and then Kimberly.
Yeah, I will add to everything that's been said so far. While I've been part of this group, I've been fortunate to offer the student perspective from the University of South Florida in St. Petersburg. And I will say, one thing that I found really enjoyable was the social media side of initiatives. I was asked a few months ago to kind of do a POV video about what it's like to have the student experience riding on the bus, and I tried my very best to make sure everybody could get through the video without falling asleep, so it wasn't that boring for everybody. But in all seriousness, after that video was published by PSTA, that initiative was undertaken, heard from a lot of students that maybe had thought about the Sunrunner before, but really weren't sure how it worked, how to use the app, really the benefit you get from a student ID to ride, and have now incorporated that into the work they're doing, which I think is very exciting. And I'll add on to that, one initiative that we've kind of discussed in this group, which I'm excited about, is the development of kind of a track ambassador program in which, interested individuals who want to support PSTA, like the work that's happening, can understand some of the key areas that they can be involved, whether it's in advocacy, awareness, helping to voice, their perspective with local leaders and things like that, which I think is important.
Absolutely, thank you. Kimberly, and then Sebastian. And then Jay. Kimberly, you're on mute. There you go. Oh, no. Back on mute. There you go.
I love the opportunity of being able to work with the Spirit developers of making the Access application great for all the Access users. It's so good to be able to make your reservations online and track the vehicles. It's a great feeling.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Sebastian, Jay, and then we'll move on to a new question. Sebastian, you're on mute at the moment, looks like. Are you able to unmute yourself, Sebastian?
Sebastian, can you ask him to unmute? Oh, you did, okay, sorry.
There should be a microphone with an X over it on the bottom of the screen, bottom left. Jay, do you want to jump in and we'll work with Sebastian on the unmuting?
Sure. Also, a host may be able to unmute them. It's sometimes works, and sometimes doesn't. I would say one of the things I would like as being part of the track is, being honestly able to go in the community and like advocate for transit, especially in communities or in meetings where there are, a significant amount of folk who are anti-transit. That's one thing I like about being on track, but like one of the other things is like representing, I guess, my community. That's one of the other reasons I like, and like accomplishments. I think I agree with other folks said about the accomplishments, but like, I guess I was answering the first question. My bad. But yeah, sorry.
All good.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Great.
Okay. I don't necessarily agree with some of the comments that were made that we represent a very small minority. Okay? I've been part of the petition drive for the New Park Street Terminal. Those petitions went to the Secretary of Transportation for the United States. We've had our problems with the Clearwater City Council. We attended meetings all over again trying to get us a land swap for the Park Street Terminal. We have programs that are fantastic, and that's why we won an award. Our transportation disadvantage programs are, there's nobody else has them, but we have them. That would be access, mobility on demand, direct connect, and a lot of guys on the committee, a lot of people on the committee have voiced their opinions about these programs, and we got them done. So I don't know where some of the people are coming from, but I don't feel like we represent a small minority. One of the problems in Pinellas County is it's not New York City. People that used to drive cars, that still want to do it. They're used to driving cars. We've had our problems with North County in general type elections. They're not particularly crazy about supporting PSDA, but we have done a lot and continue to do a lot. And I appreciate people like Gloria, Kimberly, have done a lot in helping out disadvantaged people, if I could use that terminology. So I don't think we're in a minority. I'm patting ourselves on the back. I think we do a terrific job.
Very good, thank you. Because Sebastian brought up the transportation disadvantage, let's talk about that. And I'm sure it's a point of discussion that comes up frequently in this group. Who is the transportation disadvantaged? What's an example of a transportation disadvantage? Do you talk about what the person looks like, does, what their day-to-day is like? Go for it, Gloria.
Again, I think there's a little bit of confusion on it because a lot of us think of access as being part of TD. A lot of people do. And it's not necessarily, simply having a disability doesn't make you a TD rider, but you can qualify for access. And so, but there are people who ride regular buses. We have the late shift program, for example. Those are largely often for TD users, people who are at a lower, very low income level, and it's the programs that help that. So disability and income problems can both contribute to being transportation disadvantaged. So, I think, like I said, I think we're all confused about exactly what is what and who is who. And if we're confused, then I know the general population has no idea.
I can chime in on that a little bit. So it is a little confusing. And at the state level, they define transportation disadvantaged as anyone who, due to age, income, or disability, is not able to access their own personal vehicle. In Pinellas County, there's only so many grant dollars to help fund the program, so we have more narrowly defined it as being anyone. It doesn't matter if you have a disability or not, it doesn't matter your age. If your income is 200% or lower, you can join the transportation disadvantage program. It's part of the development of this, and this is probably why it's a little confusing. Part of this development of this action or this outreach plan was to help us kind of get deeper into communities that we've maybe not been able to get as deep into, and potentially make sure more people are aware about the low income program. And we are going to come back to you all at some point, Track, and have you guys help us brainstorm a new name for the transportation disadvantage program, because I don't think that terminology is very good. We use it because that's what the program is at the state level, but we could probably do it, but like to your point, Gloria, have a better way of differentiating it from our other mobility programs.
Thank you.
But hopefully that helps a little.
Marco, I see a hand.
Yeah, I just want to chime in and say that, as someone who was on the who utilized transportation disadvantage program for a little while, these riders specifically may not have access to smartphones or smarter phones, if you get what I mean, and they may not have access to social media or other avenues that PSTA is using to communicate out what is going on and what is available. So sometimes you have to go back to a more, the first word that pops into my head is antiquated, but I don't like that word, but a more old-fashioned way of getting a hold of people, being out at the main bus stops, being at places where these types of riders congregate, perhaps being on a bus line and engaging with them, like on Route 34, on Route 52, and that might be a better way to pick up and get more outreach in a non-traditional way, and traditional way being Facebook, Instagram, email, that sort of thing.
And that's actually a great transition into, and this doesn't have to go directly to you, but I'll expand it to the group as well. But if you could separate out ways that you see PSTA effectively engaging with this audience and ways in which you would like to see them do something differently, adjust process a little bit to your last point, Mark.
Yeah, and I I don't want to say that, you can't say this group of people never have access to social media because, not everybody fits into one group. But, there has to be a different way of reaching out. Perhaps partnering with Daystar, because a lot of people on the disadvantaged program get their mail there. So we could be there once a month, bi-weekly, something to share what's going on and and be like a living Facebook post, so to speak, a living social media that's out there and getting more into it. Being at our larger transit hubs, Grand Central, Park Street, Pinellas Park, something that's actually out there and engaging with these people face to face, because it appears to me that if you're not able to give them said product, bus pass, information right then and there, they're just going to move on and forget it. But the crux of what I'm getting at is more face-to-face engagement.
I see one hand. I just want to restate the question, which is ways in which you perceive PSTA addressing and serving the needs of the TD audience well, and opportunities or gaps that you see. We've got a hand, Mark B. And then Elizabeth.
I just wanted to clarify my comments. I do value the members of the committee and their opinions, and I listen to them constantly. I try not to talk most of the time, but so Sebastian or Jay, or there's different things that they are advocating for that I'm not advocating for. I totally respect that. When I said the minority, I just wanted them to know I was speaking that if we all raised our hands, if we were willing, I'm not saying we should, but if we were willing to raise our hands on our political affiliation, I might be one of the few Republicans. I don't know, but that's just my perception. Okay, that puts me in the minority, say, if I'm correct. All right, that's all I'm saying. And then I'm advocating for 400 specific people who have to walk 0.7 of a mile to get to the first bus stop, who rely almost exclusively on PSTA. That's the only people I care about, but I do care about Gloria and all the people. I would walk if it were me or someone who needs the ride more than I do. That's not my point. I was just saying my perception has changed over the time that I've been. It's a little different setup deal on who's advocating for what, and what's the percentages, and who's got the loudest voice at this particular table. That's all I'm saying. They're all valid. And I'm saying maybe I'm valid even though I am the minority. I'm not saying anyone else. Certainly there are other minorities. I'm just saying, am I the most important minority? No. I just view myself as a minority on this particular committee. That's it. I mean it well, though.
For the 400 that you're referencing, are there any specific asks that you have of PSTA's track committee, ways in which this committee can help PSTA engage with those 400 in a more meaningful way?
Well, 400 people who are homeless or who are in subsidized housing at the homeless facility, namely Pinellas Hope, have to walk 0.7 of a mile, whether it's raining, 100 degrees, whether they have a walker, whether they're in it. It's a really difficult, and I've been there with them. I lived with them. I care about them, and I want some option. That's all. That's the reason I came to this committee. I wanted those people to have a clue, even if it's just once a day, that some of those people who almost don't have the physical ability to get themselves down there to that bus stop, and these are people that are expected to go out and get a job and get out of being in the homeless shelter. It's a difficult deal, and I care about them, and I asked about it. I still care about it. If you can't tell, I have strong emotion about it. And I share strong emotion for some of the other people that are advocating for what they think is important. When I said minority, there's 400 people in Pinellas County. They're the low end of the totem pole. But 0.7 of a mile is too long, in my opinion. And if we could do anything to help them, to have another couple of options to get down to the closest stop, I don't have to walk but 0.2 of a mile to get to the nearest bus stop from where I live now. But it's no big deal. I have a bike. I'm healthy, praise the Lord. But that's what I'm talking about as far as the minority opinion. And then if we only talk about one side of this political spectrum as an overview of Pinellas County, okay, I guess it's 2/3 Democrat. I don't know what the real statistics are, but there's a lot of taxes being paid by Republicans, and they have a valid point to be in this discussion. And maybe I'm the only one that's representing that point of view. Maybe there's another couple, but they're afraid to say, and that's okay. Nobody has to say anything. I'm able to step up. I don't care what people think. I just want to be me. So that's it.
Okay, thanks. And Jay, I see the comment. God, that's what I was looking for. All right, we had Elizabeth, I saw your hand go up, and then Gloria, I see your hand, and then we'll move on to another question.
I think 12 years ago, when I had a teenager, I think you would call it transportation disadvantage. I got a reduced bus ticket or free bus ticket or pass, I can't remember. And there was a discussion because the price was going to go up from $9 a month to $11 a month. And the people that showed up at the headquarters were very upset about it. I wasn't. I said, hey, $11, I can handle that. But I think I was part of that transportation disadvantaged because I was eligible for that pass, or that monthly pass. And then Elena turned 18 and that was ended. But I think when she was still a teenager, I must have been, because there were some retirees that were very upset for the $2 increase. And there are other people that were very upset. I think I was the only one that said, no big deal, I can do the $11. But I think there's an example of a transportation disadvantage.
Yeah, you're correct. That was the Transportation Disadvantage Program. It is $11 currently, and then we recently raised the income percentage from 150 to 200 because, inflation, all the things. But yeah, that is definitely, that program still exists, and today it's $11. If you're part of Pinellas County Health, you only pay $6, and then if you're a City of St. Pete resident, they actually buy down the co-pays. So, yep.
Gloria, Richard, and then we'll move on.
Okay, my one real quick thing, we were talking about how do you get more people involved with like the TD program or serve more people. I happen to live in a condo that's in a 55 plus, I'm in a 55 plus building, and 55 is gracious. Most of the residents are well beyond 55. And they're not aware of the programs, and yet the one other thing I've seen is that I know when you go to motor vehicle, a lot of those people shouldn't be driving anymore. And more as motor vehicle is saying, hey, you need to have tested, and people don't test out. We need to make sure that motor vehicle knows how to tell people, hey, here's some really good programs if you're not driving. I think there's got to be an opportunity for more education for the seniors who really ought to stop driving because they're dangerous, but them not being afraid of what am I going to do if I can't drive. I think teaching them that we have programs that say, hey, you don't really have to drive. We've got ways to deal with that.
Great, I love the examples. Daystar, DMV, great connectors. And let's see, we've got Richard.
Hello. Gloria really stole my point about seniors shouldn't be driving. And she made some really good points about involving testing centers or Department of Motor Vehicles as well. As even insurance companies, everything tightens down, everything decays. One of the reasons I joined this group and became passionate about mass transportation is I know my time's coming. You know, and I can tell you in 10 years, I don't want to be on the road. It's just, it's not worth it unless I really have to be somewhere. So transportation disadvantage, there's a heck of a senior community here. Right now, my wife and I are at an age group, and her little mission in life is make sure some of the neighbors get to the grocery store. And, you know, that's good road travel. But, you know, we have to keep that in, everything Loretta says. Thank you.
Sebastian? Are you able to unmute? Or can a host unmute?
How's that?
There you go, perfect.
Okay, good. One of the problems that I see is that we have these wonderful programs like TV Late Shift, Access, Mobility and Demand. Now, in mobile home parks and some senior apartment complexes, you can talk to these people, you know, but it doesn't register. They don't know how to do it. They don't know who to call. No matter how many times, that Gloria has done a great job getting people involved in one of the programs. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to. And it not feel like it goes in one ear and out the other. My understanding was, I've been around for quite a while, is that we had a speakers bureau. And I never could understand why our speakers bureau doesn't contact these senior mobile home parks for a meeting, clubhouse meeting. I live in a mobile home park. I know there are seniors in this park that could use mobility on demand. When I think about it, I say to myself, maybe we don't want to push it too hard because of the finances. But I think, I mean, some of these parks that people come in from Medicare, Humana, you know, health companies, and put on seminars. And I can never understand why we don't have speakers like Call My Park, set up a town hall meeting where I know that the seniors who go, then you can enroll them. You got to do it for them. You got to take them by the hand and do it, because they don't know how to do it. Like Bob, I think it's Bob said, or Richard, people don't have smartphones. You know, they don't know how to do it. And I know there are people in this park that could utilize one of our mobility programs and don't, because they don't know how to do it. And I think that's the vast majority of people. If we have a speakers bureau, and I thought we did, I've been around for quite a while, and they should call these parks, particularly the parks, set up a town hall meeting in the clubhouse, okay, and help these people involved. That's my suggestion.
Great. The Speakers Bureau, that's a great example of the community outreach suggestions that we're looking for, that you have a great pulse into. So looking at the Speakers Bureau for a town hall setup, kind of outreach, DMV, Daystar, are there any other organizations, groups, kind of collectors or aggregates, gatherings of individuals that would likely be TD riders that you can think of that you've observed as being a gap for PSTA?
Sarah, am I still on?
Yes, you are.
The point I want to make is, do not expect these people to go to a meeting in some building somewhere. It's got to be done in the park, in the apartment complex. You know, you can't expect them to be going someplace, because it's not gonna happen. And I would bet that if we had a speakers bureau in my park, I'd pick up 10 or 15 people. I look how many parks you're talking about. We gotta bring it home to them.
Absolutely. Meet them where they are is something that we say as an organization. So any other good examples of that, meet them where they are? Richard, I see your hand up. Go for it. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, ask to unmute.
He's not able to unmute, so I don't know.
How's that? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep, now we can hear.
And I just had some thoughts. Mark, I think you're in Gulfport and has such a tremendous senior center. And I think that would be a good outlet for some of this information to get out to help people learn how to do it. And the other thought too is in the medical community, whether it's a doctor or a private practice or a hospital or a clinic or urgent care, they seem to give a question about, well, we're releasing you, can you take care of yourself? And there's social workers involved. I think in education to those people as well is that it wouldn't hurt. They could help their patients learn how to get to a doctor's appointment. That's it.
All right, my final question to close out is really revisiting. Thank you for sharing the background of the track committee and points of pride that you have on projects that you've worked with. But the other side of that is, are there skills that you bring to the table that you feel have not been fully leveraged being a part of this committee? Are there ways in which we can all collectively better support PSTA that you're not currently being asked to do, or what have you? No comments?
Do you mind repeating the question for me, please?
Yeah, so I put it in the chat, and essentially, are there ways that you feel as a track member that your skills and support are not fully being used? Are there new ways that you'd like to contribute to the cause, to the committee, that you either haven't been asked to do in the past or just haven't had the opportunity to? I see Kimberly.
I give them feedback whether they like it or not.
Very good. And do you feel that the way of giving feedback, that there's a good process, that you know who to go to, that it's...
Oh, yes. They've done everything to make the programs and the service better for the riders. It's awesome.
Okay, Mark and then Gloria.
This is very minor, but I think that they already do it. And, giving a shout out to my friend Heather, who's like 4 boxes below me down that way. And she shares so much information that she can. But, having us more involved in like what a route map might look like going through, especially South St. Pete, where there's a whole lot of overlap. But like, they already do that. But so I'm just nitpicking right now. This is like at the time of the year where I have to like give feedback on my coworkers, and I'm like, I don't know. We're gonna pick like the most smallest little crumb that I can find.
You're out of feedback.
Interesting you say that. I believe next month, I know we came to you all with the bus plan earlier on, but we're gonna come back with more detailed recommendation maps, I believe, next month.
Great, you just answered question number 2 on my question list over here.
Right.
Yes.
Great. Gloria? Okay, close this out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that they are incredibly responsive to what we ask for.
Oh, you're on mute now. Suddenly,
That was my fault. I was trying to lower her hand and accidentally muted her.
thanks, Bob.
Bob, you troublemaker.
There you go.
Anyway, I was actually saying nice things, Bob.
I know, I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, I think they listen, and in fact, that's been one of the things that, like I said, why we ended up even creating those whole initiatives programs years ago, was because we said all we were doing was raising yes or no, I agree with things that were being presented to us. And that was our chance to say, wait a minute, you need to hear what we're thinking. And in fact, they've embraced that, and every year now we have a discussion about, well, what will our initiatives be this year? So I feel like there's really good interaction, and I hope that everybody, including, and I will again talk to you, Mark Boyce. Mark, you are a part of our group, and we do want to hear what you say. And I think I'm not just speaking for me, I think I'm speaking from a lot of us. We like to have different points of view.
I second that.
I'll give a moment for any additional comments. I am putting my email address in the chat. If there's something that you think of, any ways in which, I know that this project was particularly focused on the TD Rider, but if there are any additional means of outreach that come to mind after we jump off of this Zoom, usually happens to me about 5 minutes after I hit exit, but you have my contact information to share anything that you would like with me after the fact. So with that, I will turn it back over to the host.
Sorry, I was 3 screens deep. Okay, let's thank Sarah very much from the track committee. This was a wonderful, wonderful brainstorming session. It was really nice to hear some of the ideas that came out of from every committee member, and the engagement was just wonderful. So a round of applause for everybody for doing a great job. We are going to end our meeting with questions and comments for staff. So if you would like to share anything about what's going on, I've already mentioned that I have a couple of things I wanted to bring up, mostly things that were brought to me from people at Car Precinct P. Heather already answered one by saying, I want to know what was the update on the community bus plan. We're going to be hearing about that next month, so that's awesome. Bob, you said that we're working towards a way where you'll be able to pay or get your Flamingo voucher right within the transit app like they do here in Buffalo. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's one of the things that Jacob has been working on. Jacob actually was the gentleman who presented the bus plan to you month before last. So I'll ask him if he can give an update on that when he comes to you next month. And by the way, we were meeting this week about the community bus plan, and it's going to you before it goes elsewhere.
Wonderful.
Just letting you all know that you get first crack at it.
Okay. 2 more things, and then I'm going to go over to Richard, okay? One other thing was, does PSTA have any details about additional funding for residents of the city of St. Petersburg? I saw Gina Driscoll was working on that with city leadership about funding for transit options for residents. Is this something that you guys are aware of? Heather's putting her hand up, so I think she might know something about it.
Yes, they, so specifically, Councilmember Driscoll is focusing on a project that is related to what's being dubbed universal basic mobility. And it's something they've introduced in Los Angeles and a couple other communities. And so they have some money set aside to pilot that. And I think mostly it's related to kind of a wallet, an e-wallet for bike and scooter share. I know we've also been trying to work with the bike and scooter vendors on having some kind of discounted rides for lower income people, but I don't quite know the status of that. And then I think the city is contributing another $100,000 to hopefully improve the frequency of the Sunrunner in the evenings.
Awesome, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that updated information. One more question, and then I am going to go over to Richard. I'm so sorry, Richard. And this is the one from the Car Free St. Pete Committee. They want to know that when we do the community bus plan, if we can work with better connections between downtown St. Pete, where a lot of our people from Car Free St. Pete live, and Tampa International Airport. So more like rethinking 100, 300, possibly a 200 that goes from downtown St. Pete. And of course, Heather's got the answer. From downtown St. Pete to the airport. Heather, back to you.
So, actually, we just had a call with DOT. I think it was today, maybe it was yesterday. And one thing we're looking at is how we can, once the express lanes open up on the Howard Franklin Bridge, how we can improve the frequency of the 100X. That would be to downtown Tampa. At some point, we do have in our plans we called it the 727, I guess, because it's the area code, I don't know. But it was something in the same corridor. Oh, wait, no. The 100X, we would maybe shift from Gandy over to Howard Franklin or try to do a new service using the express lanes and the Howard Franklin. So we haven't made the determination, but I did just bring that up to DOT today and asked if that would be eligible for a grant, and they're looking into it.
Wonderful. And 727 Day is coming up on Saturday, so if you live in St. Pete, I know they're having a big celebration for 727 Day.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, actually, and real quick, I'm just gonna mention this real quick. Up here in Buffalo, the area code is 716. And on 716 Day, July 16th, they do all this big stuff downtown, but they make it a fundraising day for large nonprofits in the city, and all the money is matched by the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh, that's very cool.
It's so cool, yeah. Okay, I'm done. We're gonna go over to Richard.
Just a quick question, I guess, Bob. What's going on with the 58th Street, First Avenue North Sunrunner? Why is that closed?
I do not know. 58th Street North.
Yeah. It's on temporarily standing in the grass on the other side of the street. It's been closed for 4 or 5 days now. It just says temporary closed.
We will have to find out. I do think a car may have hit it, or a truck.
Okay. I don't see any reason
Somewhere
why
in that vicinity, there was an incident where a vehicle hit it.
it's not an obvious thing.
Okay, we can double check though.
It narrows the road down. There's a parking spot where it's a temporary stop. But it does narrow it down to one lane on First Avenue North, which doesn't really play well with the people who are already mad about losing the third lane. So any little things like that can turn into big things. That's all. Thanks.
Very good point, Richard. Jay, come on in.
Speaking of Sunrunner, I was on Sunrunner today. Oh yeah, that was today. And I believe I also saw the stop at 22nd or 28th Street. I forget which one of those. At First Avenue North was also closed. Was there any information about that out? Because it was a surprise to me when I saw it.
I'm sorry, which one is that?
It's either 22nd Street or 28th Street. I don't think there's one at 28th Street actually. It may be 22nd Street then.
So there's no information out there?
I'm sorry?
There's no information out there?
No, like it has those orange cones blocking, it blocked. I don't know if it was us, it may have been somebody else out there doing some kind of construction, but it blocked the back lane and the platforms.
I don't know of anything at PSDA that we're doing that would have done that. City might have done that. We'll have to look into it.
Yeah, we'll look into it because we do want to make sure, at least in the future, that there's information about where you need to go instead and all those things.
May I step in on that one?
Yeah.
There's another stop on First Avenue North that yesterday I thought was closed, but it wasn't. And I think it was 13th. And the reason I thought it was closed, it was because there was a chain and a sign, the back of a sign going across the ramp. And I said, well, this is closed, there's no, and I pedaled up to it and I asked a fellow rider, I said, is this closed? Oh, no. So I went around and looked at it, and it must be near 13th, First Avenue North, and the sign says, this way to the trough. But as you approached it, it looked like the ramp itself was closed, that you couldn't get on it. Once again, a little thing, but if I've traveled some in faraway places and been completely lost, and those little things can really throw people off.
Richard, was that an A-frame style sign?
No,
Interesting, all right.
no.
Okay, Sebastian?
Yes. My question is for Heather. Heather, Mark brought up a very valid point about Pinellas Hope, that the bus stop is quite a ways from the community.
Yes.
Isn't there a bus that goes past there?
Is there what, just past there?
Isn't there a bus that goes past there?
Oh, yes, yes, it's one of our highest ridership routes, it's Route 52, and
52, right? So
Yeah.
why can't they stop there once or twice a day?
so the bus it stops on 49th Street. If you go back in there, and I've been back in there and checked it out, there's not a place for a 40-foot bus to turn around. So we could, I'll get with the mobility department and Bonnie, and we'll see if we can brainstorm any ideas. It is a long walk, I understand, yeah, and I know I went and donated some stuff there and definitely saw people with walkers and whatnot, so I understand.
Okay, good. It's in your hands.
Yep, I already sent myself an email to remind myself to look into it tomorrow.
Okay.
Max, come on in.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. I actually lived at Pinellas Hope for about 6 months. Yeah, it is a very long walk down a very narrow street. There's no way to get a bus down there and then have it turn back around. But maybe if there could be like a shuttle a few times a day, just like a van, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna look into. I'll look into see if that's feasible.
That's
Yeah,
great.
'cause, I mean, that is an unbelievably long walk of just hot or rain or
Yeah, I don't think there's sidewalks either.
no, there is not. And it's a UPS distribution hub, so you got big trucks coming through.
Yep.
Yeah, not fun.
Great ideas are being shared about this. I really like how this like come up in one meeting and you almost have have it resolved. That just shows the power of this committee and how we get things done here at PSGA, and I'm proud of it. Any other questions or comments?
Elizabeth has one.
Yes.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I haven't figured out how to do this, get my hand to wave on the phone. Okay, she was talking about community bus plan effort. Wow, that shows how Forward Pinellas is connecting to PSTA, because it says right here, it is being developed in partnership with the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority's Community Bus Plan. So they're connected, and I'm learning more and more about how Fort Pinellas and that long-range transportation plan is connecting tightly with what's happening at PSTA. And when she mentioned community bus plan, I said to myself, wait, I got that right here in my notes. So, a lot of good stuff is happening in New York, but the same efforts are happening in San Francisco, totally different results. So we've got a sociological research, which is a different topic completely, but different people, different parts of the country, different results. But I just want to get back to how Forward Pinellas, the transportation plan connects tightly with PSTA's community bus plan effort. It's connecting. In my
Yes.
brain, that's a good thing.
Nope, it is. We've actually received a lot of kudos for our coordination with them. I actually worked at BMTO for 8 years. I worked at Fort Hills, that wasn't called that then, for 8 years before I came to PSTA. And so we have really good relationships with them, and it's really important, their planning work, while it may seem kind of crazy that they're doing planning work for 25 years in the future, projects do have to be in those plans to even be eligible for funding. So it's really important that we're aligned.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for a very wonderful and productive meeting. Our next meeting will be on August 20th, and that will be in person at PSTA, so we all get together for a little summer soiree, and we'll see everybody then. Everybody have a great rest of your day.
Thanks
Thanks,
all
everyone.
for all your input.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.